radio and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic and excited to talk to our next guest. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun,
one of this, the Pink Panther, Revenge of the Nerds, where I'm a big fan. Peter Samuelson, director. How are you, Peter? Thanks for stopping by. You're a renowned filmmaker and you have a new book, and I appreciate you coming on.
I'm happy to be with you. And there are those who think that Revenge of the Nerds is the pinnacle of American comedy. I want to point out that year, we were the 22nd highest ranking all-time comedy film. So there you go. I don't know
Oh,
what
that's
1
great.
through 21 were. They must have been pretty funny.
Well, I've gotten a chance to talk to some of the people from Revenge of the Nerds, and I'm just telling you, it's a childhood reminder to me for sure, especially in my teen years. But go ahead, Greg, with your first question.
Peter, great to meet you and speak with you. Let me ask you, you've worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Any fun or surprising behind the scenes stories you can share with us that still make you smile today when you think about them?
Return of the Pink Panther, obviously Peter Sellers played Inspector Clouseau. Peter was an amazingly smart, gifted comedian, actor. He also would not work if anyone on the set was wearing the color green. So part of my job at 6 o'clock in the morning was to run around and say to one of the electricians, let's say, Harry, could you go to wardrobe, change your socks? Peter won't work if you're wearing green.
That's great.
And that's got to be a challenge, right? What your role is. How do you keep everything moving as a leader in a way, Peter, on the set?
I think you are the general of an army as the producer. One of my charities, the one that Steven Spielberg and I co-founded, we drew in General Norman Schwarzkopf as our fundraising chair. And I had an amazing first meeting with him in his office in Tampa, Florida, where, first of all, I went into his office and I said, because he had a gun, a pistol on his desk that was like almost as big as the desk. I thought, how does he even lift it up? And I said, is that because of terrorists? And he said, no, journalists. Then I said to him, if you join with Stephen and me in this Starbright Foundation, we're like the conveners. We're in the middle of the circle. We bring in the medical people, oncologists, pediatricians, hematologists, all of that, child psychologists. And then we bring in the computer people, the Silicon Valley people, the software, the hardware. And then we bring in the film industry people, producer, director, writer, actor. And we're like in the middle. And he said, Mr. Samuelson, what do you know about the United States Army? And I said, you could, honestly, sir, you could assume nothing because it could be written on the head of a pin. He said, when you muster into the Army, we don't just give you a rank, we give you a specialty. It's a pin on your shoulder. And it doesn't matter how much you're promoted in your Army career, you still have your specialty. You're a signalman, you're an infantryman, you're a cook, you're a driver, whatever you are. He says, but then if you exert real leadership and we decide to make you a general, in the ceremony where we make you a general, we take away your specialty pin because you are no longer a specialist. You are a general. I sat there like an idiot. I thought, that's why they're called generals, for God's sake, because their specialty is being the generalist in the middle. Because over thousands of years, armies worked out if you put a specialist in charge, everyone dies in the battle.
Oh my goodness, that's so great. Thanks. That's an awesome story. I love that one. I can't wait to share that. So, Peter, you're known for really big things and thinking big. What's the boldest, craziest idea you've ever pitched, whether it happened or not?
I would say, in a way, my book. I had never written a book. And for me, presumptuously to say, yeah, I think I have something to say. And I think that young adults, that's who it's written for, need life hacks. I think they are, in the present moment, bewildered. unhappy, perplexed, challenged, and I dared to dream that perhaps I could take my own crazy life and use it as examples in a life hack book. It's called Finding Happy, and it comes out June 10, Simon and Schuster Regalo. And what I've done, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I realized I'll never get this damn thing done unless I have a bit of discipline to it. So I should take my own medicine. And I did. I got up 6 days a week at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I made myself write for an hour. And I organized it into chapters. It's what I know now that I wish I knew when I was 18. And it's organized by subject. So, for example, there's a chapter where the chapter heading is, what is a good risk? What is a bad risk? How do you tell the difference? And I've used all these ridiculous examples from my own life, things I did that I should never have done, nearly killed me, risks that were good and I should have taken it and I didn't, or I did. And so that's what the book is. It's a chapter by chapter, the challenges of they're Gen Z, and maybe the lower end of millennials. So 16, 17, 18 at the young end, 30 years old at the top end. I think that the book is buyable by uncle, aunt, parent, teacher, faculty at a university. I think it's anyone who cares about a young adult would want to get them this book. But I also have to answer your question by saying the craziest thing I ever did is I got myself what was supposed to be a 20-minute meeting with Steven Spielberg, and you go in and they do everything to scare the hell out of you. Don't give Mr. Spielberg your collateral. You leave that with me. And you have 20 minutes, and he has an ambassador coming on the hour, and you'll have to be out. And you go in, and there's this man who stands up to shake your hand who looks exactly like Steven Spielberg, because, of course, he is Steven Spielberg. And I'm talking to him, and I'm pitching this new idea that we could connect teenage kids in hospitals together using the internet, and he's getting very excited, and we could have different worlds that they could inhabit, and we'll connect them together, and so on and so forth. And I'm looking at my watch, and I'm thinking, been in here an hour. Don't know what happened to the ambassador. Oh, I've been in here an hour and a half. And coming up to 2 hours, he says, so what do you want me to do? And I said, you be the chairman. It's a new nonprofit. We're going to call it Starlight. And he said, and what, we'll put a board together? I said, I think that'd be very easy with you as the chairman. And he said, I should probably give money, right? Because we have to raise money, but we can't raise money unless I give money. And I said, that'd be great. He said, what do you think I should give? And I said, I don't think God put me on the earth to tell Steven Spielberg what he should give to charity. And he said, no, give me a number. I can always say no. And I said, no, I don't think I should give you a number. He said, give me a number. You can't leave unless you give me a number. I said, no, seriously, I shouldn't give you a number. And he said, well, then you can't leave. And there was like a Mexican standoff. And I heard myself, I saw myself pulling a number out of the sky. I said, maybe something moderately painful. What would that be? He said, no, you have to give me the number. And I said, all right, $2.5 million. I have no idea why I said that. And I saw his mouth say, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And he hugged me, and I left. I was so in an altered place. Seriously, it was like I was out of my mind. I went and hid behind a tree, and I called my wife, and I said, I think we have a new nonprofit, and it's called Starlight, and Steven Spielberg is going to be the chairman, and he's going to donate $2.5 million. And there was like a long silence, and my wife said, where are you exactly? You don't sound safe to drive. Stay there. I'm coming to get you. And she did. And I left my car there in the Amblin parking lot. And she came and got me. And on the Monday morning, the business manager phoned me and said, I've been told by Mr. Spielberg to send you $2.5 million. Where should it go? And I said, can you give me like 4 or 5 days? I have to form an entity. We've got to apply for a 501c3. I have to open a bank account. And it all came to be. And of my 7 nonprofits, of which I'm blessedly the founder, all doing fine, I have to say that was the easiest startup because Stephen, as always, led from the front.
No, this is such an amazing story. And Greg, I'm just blown away by this guy in so many ways. And just 7 nonprofits, amazing in so many ways. The book sounds like you're talking a certain age group. I think it could benefit entrepreneurs too. Greg would
Well,
probably say this 100 times to hear the risks we take. So let's just take one topic, risks. That was a huge risk. Is it worth taking risks if you want to be extraordinary and not ordinary?
look, when I'm doing my mentoring, I've mentored hundreds and hundreds of kids through my 3rd nonprofit, firststar.org, where we house and educate and encourage high school aged foster kids. And our goal is to get them into college and help them make a life because no one else is helping them. What I say to them, think of your life as you're sitting in an envelope and it's dark, but you have a pencil. If you poke it in a direction, you might go through the edge of the envelope, in which case you'll say, whoops, I will never be a concert pianist. And you can pull the pencil back and you can point it off at a different direction. And maybe you'll be a great athlete or you'll be an entrepreneur or whatever. But if you just sit in the middle in the darkness, what will you ever be? Nothing. So you have to exert yourself and experiment. And the great glory of being a young adult is it's the time to experiment. So in terms of entrepreneurship, I would put it to you that being a film producer is the absolutely most entrepreneurial, repetitively entrepreneurial thing any human could ever be stupid enough to do. That's
Exactly.
ironic.
All
I'm
right.
glad that I'm a film producer, but every year it's a whole new thing. Is this idea big enough for me to give it 18 months of my life? Where's the money going to come from? What's the business plan? How do I budget it? Who's the team? How do we implement it? Who's distributing? Is it any good? How do we measure it? All of that. You do it for films, but then you can also do it for nonprofits. So
100%.
in order, seriously ill kids in hospital are unhappy. What would happen if we made them happy? Turns out
Okay.
it's very good for them. Foster kids don't make lives, and it's generationally repetitious of awfulness and abuse and neglect and so forth. What if we broke that cycle? EDAR, everyone deserves a roof, edar.org.
So powerful. The things you're doing. Now Greg has his final question because I wish we could talk for hours because I would love to be mentored by you, Peter. I'm just going to flat out say this. If I could sit down and be mentored by you, especially where I'm growing as an entrepreneur, you would be the guy because I mean, your connections, and you could mentor anybody in any area. It doesn't matter where our success is, mentorship. But go, Greg, with your final question for Peter.
And Neil will pay you $2.5 million.
And out of Greg's bank account.
Peter, it's been an incredible pleasure to meet you and hear about your life and stories, and can't wait to actually read your book when it comes out on June 10th. But now's a chance for you to mentor myself, Neil, whoever's listening, and whoever will be lucky enough to catch Neil's show live on the radio and streaming. Tell me, Peter, what do you feel is the most important thing out of everything, the most important thing in life that you've ever learned?
Sure. Listen, I can do show and tell. That's the book, Finding Happy. Whoops, that's me. The second best way to be mentored by me is buy the book because it's all right there. The most important thing to find happy, help other people. Absolutely. Make your money, build a family, find love, do these things that make you happy and healthy and hopefully a bit wise. But to really find happiness, I would say it has to do with helping other people. You can do that through someone else's nonprofit, their charity. You can start your own. You can do random acts of kindness in your personal life. We do something in First Star where we say to the kids, remember they're teenagers, we say, it's a wonderful day for you. We're giving each of you $200. You're giving me $200? No, we're giving you $200. You have to give it away. And in the process, they can give it to a charity, but mostly they give it to an individual. And then they have to go back and see, did he buy the shoes or did he buy Ripple or did it work? Because philanthropy sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But the kids, our students, when we have them do these random acts of kindness and pay it forward, they all grow about 2 inches because it gives them agency, it gives them standing, it gives them self-respect. And I think core, still please buy the book because it explains how and why, but finding happy, the core thing is to help other people. When you do that, you find your own happiness.
Fantastic,
Excellent.
Peter. Appreciate it, guys. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Guys, take care.